this is your Saba here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel. So just looking at a couple of things that we've been doing. We've been looking at the Kavanas and the Netilas Yadayim. And the Kavana of the Netila, we saw all of these different kinds of ideas are actually secrets. Then he shows you what the Mayim looks like. He says, Kavanas and Mayim. So this is the Mayim that you're going to look at all the Yuds that he has in here. And this is where, let's see, we came along a little bit further, and we got the the Kavanas of the Gimel and the Tilus, and then also talking about rubbing your hands together afterwards. And that's where we're at right now. So here we go, and we have this, just a second. There we go. So you should do together 3 different times of rubbing your hands together. I'm trying to get something over this book, under this book. Put another book. There we go. So he says, then you're going to do this is Shavshav Echad, Shavshav Sheni, Shavshav Gimel. Now, the question is what is it all about? And he says like this: when you're rubbing your hands after washing your hands, the 3 different times in Sirugim, one after another. He says, Yakavid laham shekoach osio. So this is your kavana. You're going to take 28 letters. Here's the 28 letters right here. Yud Kei Vav. It's called the milui of the milui. In other words, it's Yud Kei Vav, Kei Aleph, Vav Aleph, Vav Kei Aleph, but each one of them is spelled out. It comes at 28. That is in the mochin of Av, Sag, and Ma. That is different. So he says, Yakav, and let's read it again, but this is taking a look at it. This is what's being this is the RASHASH is saying, this is what is being mamshak. So Yakav laham shekaf ches osius dema. They come from the male side. Mebina, abina, dema uben the chagat, both the female and the male side of chagat, the erik anpin. Now what we do here is we have to unpack it. So unpacking this is all directional. So therefore, it's logical that if you go to the last part, you see where it's going. At least you understand the intention. So he says, Yahamshik lachamchik, we're going to take these 28 letters and we're going to mamshich them to the chagat of Erik Anpin. Now the chagat is like the zeranpin of Erik Anpin. So then he says, but that's not just that. It comes from these koach osios, and where do they come from? They come from the ma mebina, the ma uben. Let's get this the ma osios the ma. 28 letters that are coming from ma. Now ma, this is the ma hadash, which is coming to be besaking. That's what I think. So a kof ches osios the ma mebina the ma, from the bina of ma. The bina of ma'u ben the chagat the Erik Anpin. So that's the trouble. That's the trouble part here. Mibina the ma'u ben, from the bina part. So he's saying that ma'u ben are partsufim, and you're dealing with the bina part of the ma and the bina part of the ben. They are partsufim, or they're 10 spheros at any rate. You're dealing with the bina of them. The chagat the riach. Because deep inside we're dealing with a riach, and that's where this is all coming from. But it's not the kochav of the riach, it's not the nai of a riach, it's the chagat of a riach, which is the zeranpin part, or it's the top, chesed gevurah tiferes. Then he shows the 28. Then he says they're going to go the same, they're going to get the ultimate direction. So he labina the chagat, to Ma'u ben the Yasos. It's going to go from the Bina of the Chagat. The Chagat, that is the middle section of both the oros of Ma'u ben, that come from Yasos. Misham the Bina, and from there, it's going to go the Bina, the Chagat, the Ma'u ben, the Yaakov and Rachel, ultimately down to Yaakov and Rachel. This is the first time the Kavanah that you could have, if you had the time, Well, the first thing is we're trying to decipher it. We can't possibly put this into practice if we don't know what we're dealing with. So he says, ultimately, you're going to take from Yasos and the path through Zer Anpin, and it's going to come out into Yaakov and Rachel, which is really another word for Malchus sometimes. But at any rate, it's a parts of outside of Zer Anpin. Then we're going to go to Shift of base. Then you're going to rub your hands together again. And this could be the Kavana. Yakabe Lachamshak Eser Osios Dema. You should have this Kavana. To Mamshech, the 10 spheres of Ma. Okay, then the 10 Osios. Let's read it again. Yakabe Lachamshak Eser Osios Dema. Take 10 letters from Ma. Now, what he means by Osios, it got me here. I'm assuming maybe means spheros. Mechachma de Mahu Ben. From the Chachma Ben, the Chagat de Erik Anpin, that's where it's coming from. And then he shows you, but this is going to be in a simple form, a simpler form. It's just going to be the Milui. That's the 10 letters of the Milui. This is the Milui of Ma. So he says, we'll read it after this. The Chachma de Chagat, and it's going to go to the right line of the parts of Chagat, which is found in Ma Uben, both of them the Yasos. Misham, and then from there, you're going to take them to a Chachma also, Alvi Chachma. The Chagat Dema, see the Chagat Dema Uben, just the same before, the Yaakov and Rachel down into Yaakov and Rachel again. So what we do, Yaakov and Rachel represents Malchus. So by drawing our hands, we're actually bringing the Shefa down into Malchus. So in the Shifshuf Gimel, the third time that you rub your hands together, Yukavin Lahamshech Dalad Osis Hapashut, we're going to take, for example, the 4 letters of the Pashut, the Ma Bekeser. So he says, I'm understanding a little bit better. He said, Yukavin Lahamshech Dalad Osis of the Pashut. Here's the 4 letters of the Pashut. So going up, you have the Pashut, you have the Male, and up here you have the Male. So this would be the most panimistic part, I believe, but it's always confusing to me, as I've seen this before. It's in reverse order. In other words, the first one should be the Pasha, and the Mali, and the Mali. So this is somehow going from the bottom to the top. I'm not sure. Or the top is the ultimate reflection. I'm not sure. Yekavan Lahamshak Dalad Osis of Pasha Dema. Mekeser de Ma Uben the Chagat the Erigan pin. From the Keser of Ma, it's going to come from the top of Ma. Both the Ma and the Ben. It's going to go the Chagat the Erigan pin into the Chagat of Erigan pin, and this is the Havaya. Now I said it wrong, and I'll say it again. It's not into Erigan pin. This is the direction from which it's coming. That's why it's always like this, I think, in the RASHASH. The first is where it's coming from. The second part is where it's going to. So Yekavin Lachamshik Dalad Osios. Now I say Hapashut, that is the 4 letters, I misread it before too. The 4 letters of the Pashut, and up above was the 10 letters of Ma, he said. Okay. Just learning this along with you, so bear with me. Yekavin Lachamshik Dalad Osios of the Pashut, that's this. The Ma became the Ma. The Ma is the right line, the male line. The Keser de Ma, that's going to come from the Keser de Ma. So he says the Dalad Osis of the Pashut of Ma, and where's it coming from? Specifically inside of Ma, 10 spheros. The top sphero, which is Keser, the Keser de Ma, and also the Keser de Ben, the Chagat de Erik Anpin. The Chagat is the middle parts of, so it's going to be 10 spheros in the middle called Chagat. So this is the Mekeser de Ma u Ben, the Chagat de Erik Anpin. There it's going to go, and then he shows you this is what's coming. And then he comes over here and he says, L'keser de Chagat de Ma'u Ben. So it's going to go to the Keser again. This is coming from Keser, the Chagat de Ma'u Ben, but this time the Yasos, to Yasos. Now once it reaches Yasos, which is the part that actually enters into Zeranpin, it's going to go all the way out. L'keser de Chagat de Ma'u Ben, the Yaakov Barachel. So these rubbings together really are the idea of generating from the Chagat of Erik Anpin a Shefa that is going to ultimately reach Yaakov and Rachel, which is Malchus. So here's one more that we're going to do to hopefully get understood. So we look at these pages like this, and it's all full of letters, right? So what are we going to do with this? Even if he has explanations. So according to the teaching of Rabbeinu HaKodesh, Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, you need to start to really understand something. You have to start at the beginning because it picks up as you're going along a lot of different ideas. And for those of you who are listening to the shir, you should listen to the one on the RASHASH in the morning, the earlier shir, which has to do with the RASHASH on the Seder night. So that's where we're at. Bringing it into the right now, we're bringing it into Mocha and so on and so forth. But you see the RASHASH over there really strong. And a lot of times he explains things that help us. Learn this is not the RASHASH. This is the RASHASH. But it's this Rabbi Rabinowitz, Rabbi Gamliel Rabinowitz for this tiv of the RASHASH. He has an explanation on the RASHASH. It's really, really, really helpful to learn this. So that's a shir over there. So let's go over here to V'yakavi lachamshech mochin de'ibor. Now, what are mochin de'ibor? There are three sets of mochin. Mochin de'ibor im chavayos, with the Havayos, Ve'ekya Hamanukadash in the Ranchi de Nefesh. So we're dealing here with the Ranchi de Nefesh. Now that means the Ranchi means the Oros and Nefesh. And the Nekudos means, well, it's an aspect of that. So let's read it again. He said, Yakavin Lahamshek Mochin de Ibor. So what's Ibor? So there is a gestation process. And inside of the womb of Ima, so to speak, is the development of Zeranpin and the Nukva. So he says, Mochin de Ivor, so these are going to be Mochin de Ivor. So I guess there are Mochin there that have to do with that stage of gestation. Ima Havayos ve'ekyah, together with the Havayos and the Ekyahs, Hamanukados, which we're going to see this down below, which are vocalized, Shehem Naranchi the Nefesh, which are going to represent the Naranchi the Nefesh, and I think we'll be able to see that as we examine it. Oh, the Ruach of the Nefesh. Now the Nefesh has a Naranchi, and amongst the Naranchi are the Nefesh and the Nefesh. The Nefesh, he says, the Ruach the Nefesh. There's a Ruach of this Nefesh, which is the higher part, of the male part. And the Nefesh, which is the female part. And where's it going to go? Lahachan bagadati, to the three different lines, and we'll see those three different lines in a second. The parts of Achitzon, the Zun, the Asiyah. And he's trying to send it to us, to the outside parts of Zun, the Asiyah. The Asiyah, which is Asiyah? The Asiyah of Atzilus. So we're dealing with where the letters are actually formed. But then he adds V'Hasiyah Dechatachtone, also to the lower Asiyah, which is us. Shehem Hatzirufim, the Yud Aleph, and the Yud Base, the Kach Tzirufim. Now, you have to know a little bit to be able to translate that. He says the name Elokim can be divided into 120 different combinations of those 5 letters. That's the way it is. 5 letters makes 120 combinations. The Hatzirufim, those are the Tzirufim. And counting them up, there's a number, which this is coming from outer space a little bit for me, but if you count them 1 till 120, you'll see that there's a number 11, and then another number 12 of those 120 combinations of the name Elokim. Now that has meaning besides what I understand. All I can understand is what he said, the best I can. Because when you're dealing with Elokims are Mochin the continents. They're also dinim, so it's a little bit hard to understand what it means. Now, let's look at this. He says, Naranchi the Nefesh, the Ruach the Nefesh. This Naranchi, once again, means the Oros. And the way he puts it, it sounds like this is actually like a parts of it. It's Naranchi the Nefesh, or the Nefesh part, the Ruach the Nefesh. So once again, he asks you to go deep into this nefesh. Inside of this nefesh is a neranchi. Inside of that neranchi is a ruach. And this is the part that's going to be displayed here, but it's the nefesh part of that ruach, because ruach has a neranchi also. So if you're following me, good luck, but I'm following me a little bit, and so that's at least gets us on the right path. Now, he says at the same time that you have a neranchi, the nefesh, the ruach, the nefesh, you also have a neranchi, the nefesh, the nefesh, the nefesh. And this is what they look like. The menukad with chokhmah. This is what the oros look like. Then kli chitzon the kesed. So it's going to go into the. Now remember, he said it's the 11th and 12th combo. This combo starts with, instead of, normally we think of Elohim starts with an aleph, but it could also start with a mem if you switch the letters around. So he says, so this name mem aleph k yud lamed, or mem k yud aleph lamed. So the first one is the kli chitzon the kesed, and this is the kli the chesed nuk. And then he shows you more oros. So these are the oros of chokhmah with a patach like that. I'm not sure what's going on here. Well, this is the middle. We'll see. This is chokhmah. This is bina. And this is das. Now, I'm having problems with this because I don't know so he says das. He says, let's see. So my understanding was, I thought these were oros, so let's go back again. This is the or, this or right here. This is chokhmah. This is bina. This is das. So the question is, what are these? Right? Okay, but let's keep going. Kli chitzon. This light is going to kli chitzon. Kli chitzon the das the za. So somehow the das split again. I don't know. This is the kli chitzon the das the za. This is the chokhmah the za. Going over here, he says a kli chitzon the bina the za. And next to it, he has kli chitzon. He says these oros. Excuse me. These oros like here are going to go into the kli chitzon the das the nuk. All right, all of this light is falling and showing you where it's falling. It's just to get used to it. Then he shows us once again. This is Chesed, Gevura, Tiferes. But then he divides the Tiferes into Kli Chitzon, the Gevura Dezah, Kli Chitzon, the Chesed Dezah. So he has an extra Kli in there for the split in Das. That's what it is. Okay, so now he says these are once again two more combinations of the name Elohim. So he says these are the names of the Kelim, the Kli Chitzon. It's an Elohim. And then finally we come over here, and these are the Nekudos that normally go with the Nai. So this is the Hirik, which goes with Netzach, the Kubutz that goes with Hod, and the Shuruk, and also a Hirik. Now, what's this all about? So he says it's always the middle. The middle has two spheros, right? This is one is Chesed, one is Netzach, the other one is Hod. One represents Chesadim, one represents Gevuros, and they appear as a Makif and a Panimi. Then they're going to go into the Kli Chitzon, the Hod Zah. That's this one, because this is the Nikud of the Hod Zah. And the next one is Kli Chitzon, the Netzach, the Nuk, of the Netzach of the Nuk. So he said, once we're going to get into the Hod Zah, and then we're going to transfer over here to the Netzach Nuk. Not sure how that goes. So here's the Kli Chitzon. the Netzach, the Zer Anpin. Going over here, Kli Chitzon, the Hod Denuk. Kli Chitzon, the Yisod Denuk. And then he splits it, and then he has the Kli Chitzon, the Hod, the Za, Kli Chitzon, the Netzach, the Nuk. Not sure that I understood all of that, but at any rate, these are the names associated with this. Another set of combinations. He said the Yud Aleph and Yud Base of the 120. There's 11 and 12 of the 120 combinations. Now it looks to me like they have more than that, or maybe they don't. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that is the same. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So there were 3 for each, but exactly what's there, how those names work, because I'm stuck by this. He said it's a number 11 and number 11, but there are 3 different names here, so I don't know. That's what's got me confused. That's it. This is your Saba speaking at the Tikkun Elevator Call Out.